Assalamu alaikum, brother. What's your name?
Malik Brother Minister, Captain Kelvin Malik Muhammad.
Yes, sir. How you doing today, soldier?
A fine praise be to Allah for Elijah Muhammad and I'm the Minister of Farrakhan Muhammad and the believers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's good seeing you, brother.
It's good to be seen.
Yes, sir. Now, as your viewers may know by now, this is going to be the beginning to, hopefully, God willing, many other segments of your story. And whatever questions others may have for you, we're going to make sure your information is in the description so y'all can follow Brother Kelvin. And we're just going to get right into it right now.
Yes, sir.
All right, Brother Kelvin.
Yes, sir.
Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm 61 years old. I was born in the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Been living here all my life. I just did 33 years straight. I came home, I fell in 1980. I just came home 2013, followed by damn near a lifetime of probation that I'm trying to get straightened out now. So I'm trying to get back in court and get this probation up off me. I'm formerly unemployed, but I worked it part-time sometimes with my brother who has a roofing business, and I do paralegal work. Yes.
Thank you, soldier. As you said, you were locked up for exactly how many years?
I did 33 years.
33 years straight. Okay. Do you mind if you take us back to day one when you was first arrested for this 33-year sentence that you had?
Yes, it was 1980. I was 20 years old. And a man down the street around the corner from my mother's house was shot and killed. And formerly they arrested my brother, and they let him go. And the police coerced eyewitnesses, because when the witness got on the stand to testify, that the police told him that he made a mistake of identification. To make a long story short, they issued a warrant for my arrest, and I was in Virginia at that time visiting my relatives.
Yes, sir. And when they first arrested you, they brought you back to Philly? Because you said you was in Virginia.
Yes.
Okay. And when they brought you back to Philly, can you just take us back to, from what you can remember, what you recall? When they first brought you back to Philly?
Well, they brought me back to Philadelphia to stand trial for first-degree murder. And I was locked up in the Philadelphia County Prison. At that time, they only had three. It was Detention Center, House Correction, and Holmesburg Prison. Holmesburg Prison is like a penitentiary. Holmesburg Prison is the toughest penitentiary in Philadelphia, besides Greatest Ford. Holmesburg is a city prison, but when you get convicted or you sentence upstate, you go upstate and you go through Greatest Ford. Everybody goes through Greatest Ford. Greatest Ford is the roughest prison in Pennsylvania. This is where you classify you at. Then they determine what other prison they're going to send you to. At that time, it was only 7 prisons. So I stayed at Holmesburg Prison over 5 years. I went to trial in 1982, and they declared the mistrial. But what happened was we started jury selection, and as I was saying formerly, I began to study the teachers of Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I was questioning the lawyer on things about, legal work and what she should do and she shouldn't do. To make a long story short, there was tension between me and her. I started jury selection. She wanted to get off the case. The judge wouldn't let her. And then during jury selection, she had a doctor come in and say that she was stressed out and said she was sick and she could no longer continue the case. So the judge granted her permission to go ahead and get off the case. And they gave me an option, either represent myself or they let another lawyer come in and represent me and that means that the case will be delayed for at least 6 months to a year because he needed time to study the motions and the suppression hearing notes, the pretrial motions and stuff that she filed. She did do all that. That's to get discovery, to have the cops come, to show proper cause, you know what I mean, who their witnesses are, what reliable information that they have to testify to try to get the identifications smashed, and to receive the police reports. That's called pretrial. So when your lawyer files a motion to suppress, you get a hearing. It helps prepare you for trial, so you don't be tried by ambush. But basically, you know what I mean, I'll be a court appointed, they only give you an investigator for $150. So basically, you relying on what the Commonwealth give you. See, that's why police have so much power, because they can suppress evidence, or they can, when they give it to the district attorney can suppress evidence, and the district attorney has the power to subpoena whoever he wants, and they threaten witnesses, they threaten to take their children, and they threaten to have a person sent to prison if they don't cooperate with the police. So police have a lot of power. This is why a lot of people is in prison that's coming home from prison now, because police purge testimony. Because the police are trained and prepared how to testify and to represent the Commonwealth, to present their case. And this is why when I was telling you during jury selection, when they asked the jurors individually, would you believe a police officer or a brother citizen just because he's a police? And most of them said yes. And so then you question them further. Well, could you put away, could you wait until the outcome of the case before you make a decision? And they question the jurors and ask them, do they have any law enforcement people in their family? And most of them said, which most people do believe, they believe that when the police say something and they get on stand, they testify that they're telling the truth. And this is why a lot of people, innocent people, are convicted, and a lot of innocent people are in prison, and you see a lot of innocent people coming home from prison. Then police force people to lie, police withheld evidence, police threaten people, and the jurors are trained to believe a police officer because that's his job. He put his life on the line. So when he testified to something, his testimony carried a lot of weight.
Yes, sir. And like you said, brother, you're seeing a lot of people coming home now. This seems like it's in the newspaper almost every day.
Yes, sir.
From police officers and detectives and stuff that lied and suppress information and evidence, so to speak. So what you saying, your viewers could definitely look that up, and we will make sure that we'll be able to post some of those links in the description so you can do your own research on that. My next question, brother, during the trial for this case or so, when did it get to the point, or can you take us back to the day when they actually they made their verdict on you?
Right. Well, I pleaded not guilty. I went on trial for my life. But first, let me get back to when the lawyer withdrew off my case. She was a white Irish woman. They appointed me a black lawyer that they felt that I would let my guard down a little bit more, and I would trust more. So basically, my whole thing is on my case is like my lawyer sold me out, and he's a judge now, and that he was representing my brother on the side on a civil case, and that they play favors. The court system was, during that time period, they had lawyers that was wired talking to judges in their chamber, and the lawyer was an agent for the FBI. And during that time period, a lot of judges went to jail in the 80s. And then during that time period as well, the white mafia killed Angelo Bruno. Angelo Bruno was the head mafia figure in Philadelphia at that time.
Yeah.
So, say that again?
What year was that?
It was 1980, right? So when he got killed, this is when they was clashing. So they was fighting each other. The white mafia, it was all on the news. So a lot of them I met through the penitentiary, and then this is when they made Nicky Scarfo the new boss.
The white mafia was fighting who?
They was fighting one another because they killed Angelo Bruno. They wanted to get rid of him because they wanted the new boss, and so they murdered him. They shot him in the head coming outside his house. So it caused a big friction, and so they went to war with each other. And so, and the new boss was Nicky Scarfo. And then after I was convicted, after I went on trial, my trial was for like 10 days. The Commonwealth presented their evidence. They presented the eyewitnesses. They presented the informer. And my lawyer, he never investigated my alibi defense. And he never called favorable witnesses to my defense that never changed the identification. So the jury deliberated maybe a day or two, and they came back with a conviction on first-degree murder. So once they convicted me of first-degree murder, they was going for the death penalty. So, as I said in my former interview, so the Commonwealth job is to present aggravating circumstances to show the jury why they should give you the death penalty. And like I was saying before, like you got a violent background, you committed the homicide and commission of a felon, it was premeditated, and things of that nature. And your lawyer is supposed to present mitigating evidence, which I was telling you before. Mitigating evidence is like consider that your youth at the time of the arrest, that if you got life, well, you should spare your life because you would never get back out of jail because life in Pennsylvania was out for parole. And that mitigating evidence is like you could have mental health problems, you could have mental retardation, you could have been abused as a child. The mitigated evidence is to try to get the jury to take into consideration to spare your life and not come back with a verdict of the death penalty. But anyway, when they deliberated on my case, I was 23 years old. I remember this clear as day. They convicted me on November the 29th or the 30th of 1983. And the next day, I testified at the penalty stage here. The Commonwealth present their evidence why, trying to show why the jury should convict you. The lawyer never prepared me to testify. I told him at that time that I wanted to testify. So he never properly prepped me and to see what I would say, so I won't say things that will hurt myself and will make the jury more sympathetic to my life. But he didn't do that. So the Commonwealth tried to, because I didn't testify at my trial, the penalty stage is different. That means they already convicted you. So the Commonwealth tried to, during the penalty phase, they tried to trick me and get me to admit that I committed the crime so they could use that against me. And so when he asked me a question, did I so sorry for what I done, I said no, because I didn't do it. And but I should have said as well, I'm sorry for the victim and the victim's family as well. You know, I sympathize with them. But at that time, I was angry. I had an attitude because I was fighting the courses. I was fighting for my life, and they was railroading me. And I had nobody to defend me. So it was friction between me and this lawyer. It was friction between me and the police. It was friction between me and the judges. You know what I mean? Because the judge was excluding my family from the courtroom. And we stood up and we started arguing. So then the lawyer said, listen, told the judge, you can't exclude his whole family because his brother was a former suspect in this crime. Anybody that the Commonwealth intend on called in to testify, you take their names down, and they will be excluded from coming in the courtroom, because the witness is supposed to be excluded so that they don't hear what's being said and be influenced by the other witnesses' testimony. So anybody that the Commonwealth or the defense going to call be excluded from the courtroom during the trial, and then they called in separate. So anyway, the jury came back. Now remember, I was 23. I came into the teachings when I was 22. I started learning the teachings down Holmesburg Prison. So the jury came back with first degree murder December the 1st, 1983. And I turned 24 the 14th of December the 14th, 1983. So after they convicted me, at that time, you really felt condemned. And at that time, it was the electric chair. There wasn't no legal injection at that time. It was the electric chair. And so at that time, anybody that had the death penalty in Philadelphia, it was no more than, at that time, it was no more than 15 people on death row that had the death penalty. See, but then after you convicted, your lawyer filed what is called post-trial motions. The post-trial motions means that the lawyer present like a brief saying during the jury selection that they picked a death qualified juror, so the jury it wasn't a fair juror, and they employed the jurors out where they'll say the judge shouldn't have let this juror sit on because this juror said that they believe the police over a relevant person, and that they excluded certain people that said that without even questioning them to try to rehabilitate them, that they could consider the death penalty. So, make a long story short, I went through post-trial motions for like 5 years. At that time, I was fighting pro se motion. I was learning the law. I was waking up. I was coming alive. I was activated. I was teaching Elijah Muhammad, been at the same time been persecuted and everything, because I was following teaching Elijah Muhammad, and they didn't want that in the prison. That military structure they had took away. And like I said, that when Wallace D. Muhammad came into leadership, less than a year, you know what I mean, they had destroyed the teachers of Elijah Muhammad, or they thought they had, but you could not basically even mention the name of Elijah Muhammad. You wouldn't have thought he existed within that year period of time. So I was formally sentenced 1987, and I went to rated for death row. So when you get in the death penalty and when you go upstate, they take you to a dungeon and they put you in a housing area where you look like a dog pound. And when I went there, I saw all these trays, like it was like metal trays that they feed you with. They bring your food down on the back of a truck, and they make your food up right there on the trays, and they got a cart they push around and bring you your food. So when you get to death row, you're isolated all day long. You locked in 24 hours a day, unless you go to the yard in the morning. At that time, and at that time, you didn't have a window to look out, and you couldn't see the outside or the sky. It was like living in a dungeon in a basement by yourself. And they had at that time 3 sections, where I think it was like 12 cells on each section. And at that time, I had a fractured wrist, and I went up and seen the medical doctor, and he had recommended that my wrist be immobilized. So when you're on death row, you handcuffed and shackled everywhere you go. And when you're being transported to the street to like go to the doctor or whatever, they got what's called, when they put the handcuffs on, they got a metal clip that they clock and they lock in the middle of the handcuffs. So remember, I already had a fractured wrist. So this is making where you can't move your wrist at all, because some people have been known to try to escape and they had handcuff keys and stuff like that. So make a long story short, it's inhumane treatment. I didn't know it at the time. I used to file lawsuits, like I told you. 3 or 4 times after they took me to Bradford, they kept me down there. They supposed to hold me there so I could get medical treatment. But they shipped me out. They shipped me out within like a month or a month and a half. When I got to Huntington prison, when they take you and they put you on a bus, you handcuffed and shackled, like I just said, with a metal iron clip in the middle of the handcuffs so that your wrist is immobilized. So when I got to Huntington, on death row, everything's brought to you. The phone, your food, your commissary. And at that time, you couldn't have a TV over, what was that, 13 inches? So at that time, you would have like a little battery television. Then what they did is they started the prison, they started expanding to 45 watts. And your family used to send you a TV or radio or whatever and everything. But make a long story short, they started manufacturing all these things. Televisions, radios, underwear, t-shirts. So therefore, your family, everything that you needed, you could buy from the prison now. So they made televisions where you could look in the television and see, it'll be a see-through TV. So that you can't put no contraband or nothing, because they take the TV they apart to look for contraband stuff. And so anyway, when I filed a lawsuit about my medical condition, because my wrist was fractured, now I needed surgery. I filed a lawsuit. When I filed a lawsuit, you get discovery. It's called discovery. And I was scheduled to see the orthopedic doctor when I was at Bradford on 3 or 4 occasions. See, but remember, I'm locked in my cell. So what happens is, while you live in a separate, isolated area, when you're on lockdown, they send 2 guards down to the RAU from the regular population. They got certain guards that's all they do is transport inmates or escorts.
So RHU stuff.
RHU, that's the meaning, restricted housing area.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, when I got the document, I had 3 to 4 appointments so that they could immobilize my wrist. They never came and got me. I don't know about it. They never informed me. The guards never came and got me to go up to the doctor to get my wrist immobilized. So I wound up even had to have surgery done. So that messed my wrist up. Well, anyway, and then when we got to Huntington, you only got showers like every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. They start showers on the second shift on 2 o'clock. And they run the showers throughout their day period. If they got a break during the time to eat and stuff like that, they'll break then, and then they'll come back and start the showers back up. They come get you to go to the shower. But you only, at that time, I stayed at Huntington 6.5 years. At that time, you only got a phone call once a month. And everything you get, you have to put down on a request slip and request it. And you got, you didn't have no contact visits. They put you in a room with plexiglass, and your family be on the other side. So you had no contact or human touch with nobody.
And brother, just to not switch it up a little bit, just to try to get deeper into the understanding of your day-to-day in solitary confinement. For those 24 hours a day, or your day, can you just give us I don't even want to say a brief, but an understanding of what your day will look like?
Well, like I was telling you, your life is basically over. You don't have nothing. Every move you made is controlled. So after they run breakfast, they start running the yard. If you don't go to the yard, you're locked in your cell all day. And so I studied, like I told you, you know what I mean? I studied the law, studied T.J. Muhammad. People play chess. They call it out through the door. People play chess all night long. You got some people that sleep during the day, stay up all night, and you got some people that stay up all night, or sleep during the night and stay up all day. So it was crazy. So when you go, like, I get up to go make wudu, to make for prayer, and push the button in the morning. Now remember, you know, people stay up all night and they be playing chess and stuff like that. They call the moves from the door. You know what I mean? And I used to hear them playing chess all the time. I never learned how to play. I never learned chess at this time. When you was growing up, during my time period, like, you didn't see too many people playing chess. So like, you had, like, chess was like a real mind strategy mind. But make a long story short, I used to hear him making moves all the time. Rook to this place, and knight to here, pawn here, knight. So make a long story short, I learned how to play chess. But I played it with the guy that slept next door to me. He got like, it's an air vent, and you could talk to the person through the air vent. You was like sitting near your door and talk to them, or sit on your tortoise stool. See, because everything was metal. You had your zinc and tortoise stool. You had your bed, which was an iron bed, and then you had a desk that was iron. And that prison was being the old prison and stuff, rust and all that used to come out the water when you turn the water on. And lead, what do you call that, lead paint? Lead, all that used to be falling off the wall. And you had when I got to Huntington, then I met some people that was from Western Pennsylvania. See, I live in Eastern Pennsylvania. That's down, way down in the city. Western Pennsylvania is way up in the mountains, going into Ohio or going into West Virginia. And then it was like, so a couple more people that had the death penalty. So when I got the death penalty at that time, it was only 15 people that had the death penalty. And before I came home, it was over 300 something people that was on death row. So they were saying that the death penalty terror crime and getting hard on what they call it now, on criminals and gun violence. So since that time period, they done built over 30 more prisons. You know what I mean? They made all these legislations with, you know, if you're a convicted felon and you get caught for gun, you get 5 years. If the feds take it, you get 15 years. So, like I said, when I came home, the inner cities are ruined from this drug epidemic. The streets like war zone. I was culture shocked. You know, I had to learn my way back around. I had to I had the freedom. I suffered from anxiety. You know, you had to learn. You had to start doing things for yourself because you was locked in your cell all day. You know, learn how to cook now, or you know, and didn't even know how to use the faucet to turn the water on and stuff like that. My niece had to show me how to do that because in prison you just had a button and you just push. And all this pressure builds up in you. I seen brothers go crazy. I seen people lose their mind. I seen people they start arguing, fighting with one another out the door. They call it grinding each other up. When a person don't like you, they you know, start calling you, and people arguing, fighting out the door. And They used to let us at one time when you come out for death, when you come out your cell to go to the yard. They used to let you go out handcuffs. Because when you go on out to the yard, it's a big racket there where you can grab your coat. Well, only 2 people was allowed in the cell. So if 2 dudes had a beef, if the dude had a heart, he'd go out in the cell and let them go out unhandcuff me and the guard walk away before they got in the fight. But what happened is, some dudes, they was wolfing out the door, and what happened is, when they, like, whoever they had the beef with, and the guard didn't know it then, when they were running to them, before they got to the yard, when they got the clothes record, they started fighting. So they started, everything went to putting the handcuffs on us now, right? So, like I told you, they didn't pass nothing for you. They had, at that time, they had 20 cells. It was 3 tiers. The bottom tier was administrative lockdown. That means the guys that was not on death row, but they was in administrative lockdown for whatever reason, self-protection, or for getting in trouble while they in prison, or whatever, right? So you had, at the 4th bottom tier, they called it tier 4, 1, 2, and 3. And it was a round where guys would come around and they have to pass through death row to go to the yard. They was on the other side. It would be tier 4, 5, and 6. So, and you had dudes all night, like me and you now, we'd be talking law. The guards telling you stop talking. They tell you stop talking, or they're gonna write you up. When they write you up, they mean they threaten to take your TV, your radio. You know, this is the way they control you. Your commissary. But dudes would be playing chess all night. They wouldn't say nothing too. And then you had dudes that was crazy, they would bang on their zinc, like drum, racket, and scream. This is how insane people had to come. Now, and we said some people on death row that outside the shower, I was in 6 years, they never went to the yard. They never went to the yard. Jay Smith, he was the school principal of Marion, Pennsylvania. Him and another school teacher plotted to kill another school teacher that both of them was having an affair with, and they let the woman be found, and the 2 children was never found, and both of them went to a primary. They was principals at a school in Upper Marion. Well, Jay Smith got the death penalty. His co-defendant got life. His co-defendant, and Jay Smith later they walked off death row. He said, "I was beside me." That's one of the present cases, and he just died not too long ago. But anyway, he walked off death row because they suppressed the evidence, exculpatory evidence that could prove that some kind of way that he was innocent. You know what I mean? Because the school teacher was saying something else. I don't remember the whole case. You know what I mean? You can look the case up anyway, he walked off death row. And they made that a president case. But he was white. And I can remember just sitting there, you know, when you always hear some good news, you always, you know, it encouraged you. I remember I was rewatching when Nelson Mandela was out of prison. They let him out of prison. And I always say, I'm going to do that. That's what's going to happen to me. And like I said, I used to write to the minister, he used to write me back. And you have some people that was on death row that sat right beside you and stuff, that they didn't speak to you. People getting in arguments or whatever, they getting beefs, and they just shut down on you. And I had, everybody had a breaking point, because remember, the further you get away from home, the less support you get. That's why they send you up to the mountains. So you start getting less phone calls, you got less communication with your family, you get less visits. And then as time go on, like you might be wild, young, wild, and crazy back then, like you don't care, like you know, because you had money then or whatever, and you know you had connection. But as time go, I have watched and seen guys buying like these expensive sneakers and stuff like this and that. But I seen guys later on, they woman leave them. Somebody in their family die. Their child might get killed. Or stuff like that. When you on death row, you're not dealing just with that. But then, when if somebody in your family and stuff died, you can't go to the funeral. So all this stuff builds up and plays a part in breaking you down mentally. So I just survived by the grace of Allah, brother. You know, and I just always never gave up. And that I mean, you just had to do it from the muscle, dude. I mean, that was basically your day. You know, on a Sunday, they give you what they call a commissary slip, and you could check at that time what you wanted to buy from the commissary. I think at that time you could spend like $50 or $40, and they would come over with a card, and they'd have the bags, take the bags out, and your cell number and stuff. And they bring it to your cell, and the guards give you a commissary, and you sign a slip that you got your commissary. And then they had what you call was a special gift on Christmas, where you could get stuff that they didn't have on the regular commissary, and you could spend like $65. That was a big treat then. People used to pay people to give them their slip, and they'll give them some of the stuff that they order. Because some people didn't have nobody to send them nothing, so they wasn't even going to use their slip. So people would have money sent to the person's family. They would have their family send money to the person that's in prison, so that they could get that special treat, because you only get it once a year. That was during Christmas. But just before I came home, they started making it like every, after over 30 years, they started making it like over every 6 months. You could get that treat done. So, you know, it's, you have to get accustomed to like looking at food, smelling food, and just little things that you take for granted that that been exempt from your life. You know, you have no control over that. You know what I mean? Going grocery shopping and being around people and when I first came home, you know what I mean? I went to the miles, I registered. I went out, I ordered my beans and boiling pies, and I went up on Market Street. When I first came home, I used to be up on 52nd and Market selling my papers and pies and stuff. And that's a good thing about having family as well. A lot of people, for like over 3 years, a lot of people called me my brother. They would call me Artie. And then some people that I know would tell me that my homie came to know and said, "Your brother, Artie ain't dead. I seen him. I seen him on the avenue." They said, "No, that's his brother Jay." Right? And like when I go out, I have 5 brothers under me. And 4 of them, 3 of them dead now. When I go out other places, people say, "Don't you got a brother named Artie? Don't you got a brother named Jody? Ain't you related to Kelly?" I said, "Yeah, right." I mean, and I was doing security work, and this sister said to me one day, we was me and Brother Akbar, we was on 52nd and Sampson at the library, and Janet Blackwell, she's the city councilwoman, was there. We was doing security for her, and they was filming it. That's when the new sister was running for council. The sister that got locked up. What's her name? She's a Muslim sister anyway. Her son just got killed. Her former son got killed. That's what made her want to run for city council. And then just within the last 3 months, when her sons got killed. But they got her out of office, some kind of corruption or something. They gave her. She did like 11 months in prison. And this lady getting back, this sister see me, and she says, "I know you." Now, I've been on 8 years this year. She said, I know you. I said, you don't know me. She said, yes, I do. She said, I said, where you live at? Where you live at? She said, I live on 58th and Spruce. I said, I'm not from there. I'm from 43rd Street, 43rd Westminster. She said, I moved from 58th Street. I was living on Westminster Avenue. And I looked, and I said, Lori, and it's still amazing. She said, I knew I said, Jay, yeah. And when I went to jail, you did what I'm saying, you know, they had just moved down there. So it's times I've been places, and it happened, you know. Again, the girl says, can I speak to you, man? I said, yeah, what's going on? I'm doing security work. She said, don't you got a brother named Artie? I said, yeah. And I haven't seen these people like 30 years. You know, I ain't seen these people over 30 years. So, a lot of people, you know, I got other brothers too, you know what I mean? But I'm saying is that it took, by me being in prison so long, that's what my family called me, Jay. That's my middle name, Kelvin J. Morris. So that's what everybody from the streets that know me, that's what they call me, Jay. Right? I became Brother Kelvin when I came to the Nation of Islam. And people said, Brother Kelvin. So when I came home, and I went up on the avenue. The Lex Avenue is like a little market area where you go shopping when you don't want to leave the city. You know what I mean? That's the one up on the avenue. You know, and I ran across a lot of people that I haven't seen. I still see people, and they come up on me, and they said, "Dad, you don't look the same," or this or that. Or some people I don't remember, but they remember me, right? And a lot of them wasn't out there then, you know. Like when we was out there then, I'm talking about like real deep in the street. They wasn't out there then like that. And like when I was in prison, like a lot of people, like they sister, their little brothers and them come through, and they would tell their sister that I won the Mars, and they said, "Oh yeah, that's their brother Jay," because they was younger, and you know they know my family, and me and my friend was just talking about that. We got one of my homies. His mother only had one child. And when I came home, I went to go see her, but I couldn't find her. But a lot of people don't remember him. Only people remember that they grew up with us. The younger generation, they don't know because he don't have no brothers and he don't have no siblings. So people could say, "Don't you got a brother named this?" So I always get that. Ain't you related to the Morrises? Don't you got a brother everywhere I go? You know what I mean? Even if it's like the person don't know me, that my brothers or something, or my sister resemble me so much that they would say that. And that'd be a good expression. That brings that spirit back of the person that's deceased. That brings that spirit that they never die. You know what I mean? Because the seed live on through you. So I get that all the time. Like, everywhere I go, people tell me I look just like my father. You know, so, like, in the neighborhood, before I got home, we did something. Your parents know. Like if somebody came around your house, you asked them who your family. But today, people don't even know nobody. They don't know. They come right in your house. They don't speak. People don't introduce you to people. You know, and I know a friend of mine. He's a good inspiration. He came home 1986. He did 10 years. He's been home ever since. So he know all his homies. He know all their children and the grandchildren. And the sister's daughter just died. That's from down that way. And we went to the repast. And he introduced me to his homies that's deceased now, children. And when I came home, my friends, they not out there on the street no more, stuff like that. But a lot of our friends' children, they don't know. I said, how do you not know Lisa or such and such children, and y'all been right out here? So I guess why everybody's not friendly orientated. You know what I mean? So the concept now is like people are, like I said, before I got home, my father, my mother knew what I did. Because people knew one another. I see people now, they don't even speak to their neighbor. They don't even know who their neighbor is. They don't even know their name. And you know, I don't like to teach them how much gonna make us beautiful people, or else they gonna make us brand new. So, you know, our whole personality and everything changed. You know, we talk, you know, be friendly, kind, and stuff like that. So, people always looking to find fault or looking for you to try to steal over on them because they so used to being abused. See, that's one of the beautiful things about the teachers. There's still true love in you. And they be looking some kind of way. Something got to be phony about him. He can't be this nice. He can't be this kind. And this is only the beginning, you know what I mean, of us entering into that new world.
As far as entering into that new world, in the midst of that, beloved, I'm going to ask you this question, and inshallah, we ask it on each video, the beginning or the end. What is your main purpose for wanting to do these series on your life?
Well, my main purpose is to let our people know that the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is real, and that our sacrifice, all the sacrifices that our people went through slavery, have not been in vain, and that we're carrying on for our ancestors, and that the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad is our life. Because without the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we as a people are dead. And this is why the enemy hates the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad so much. And we have rejected our own salvation.
Yes, sir. And beloved, how can the brothers or sisters, anyone viewing this video, how can they contact you via Facebook?
Okay, you can contact me by going to Kelvin Morris on Facebook.
And
my P.O. Box number is 21506, Philadelphia, PA, zip code 19131. I'm trying to raise money to for my legal defense, and so we could start getting halfway houses for brothers coming, sisters come home. They'll have somewhere to go. A lot of people that's coming home from prison, they don't have no family, they don't have no support, they don't have nowhere to go. And I'm trying to get back in court and get back this illegal probation that they brought up charges that was dropped over 30 years ago, so that they can have a strain on my life. So my main objective is to try to stop these young brothers from fighting and killing one another, and not have them to throw their life away. And you know, I have nieces and nephews that's in prison. You know, I have my son that's in prison. It's a recycling over and over again of we killing one another, and the enemy is laughing. And in the book of Revelations, chapter 11, verse 8, it says that, and the dead body shall lie in the streets of the great city, which spiritually is called Solomon in Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Now, this is saying the dead bodies, that's all you see. Now, Muhammad said that in the last days, that grave was going to be high as a horse's bridle. And this is now why all these killings are going on, because the scriptures are being fulfilled. And our people are cursed because they rejected the teachers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So now their children are suffering. And we crucified our Lord. We turned our back, our family turned our back on the teachers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that was giving us life. So Allah is bringing his wrath down. And that's why I say the dead body shall lie in the street. That's why you can't come up now for a fresh breath of air. Everywhere you turn, all you hear is death and destruction. And it uses the two ancient cities, Solomon and Egypt, because America is a modern Sodom and Gomorrah, and Egypt is America where the slaves The children of Israel have been enslaved for over 430 years. See, it's symbolic, but it's talking about America. But we think it's talking about something back then when it's talking about something that's happening today. Okay? So that's why, so same people that didn't treat you right is not going to teach you right. That's why we need re-educate. And the teachers I'm going to re-educate us. Yes, sir.
Susan. And lastly, two things. Can you give them your email address and your cell phone number where you can be reached?
Yes, my email is Kelvin Morris 1214 at gmail.com. And my what's that?
Your cell phone number?
Oh, my cell phone number is 267-275-9714.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. And for all his viewers, we're going to post in his description a link of that information, as well as an article of his that was written, so you guys could do your own research. He's giving you all the scoop of it. You know, the one thing that I know that Brother Kelvin always suggested that I do, and others as well, before you come to him, you know, do your research. And this brother is always open for questions and stuff too. When you do your research based on what he said, and you know, and you'll be you'll be knowledgeable enough, to come to this brother.
We see the manifestation of everything the teaching of Allah Muhammad that's being taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is happening, the destruction of our people, brother. And it hurts because the more knowledge you have, the more aware you are, the more responsible you are. And that's why the devil is closing down and trying to avoid anybody to be able to listen and hear the minister. Because we at the end of his world. And while us rejecting the teachings, we're accepting death.
Thank you, Susan. And until next time, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.